Hi, my name is Sabina Raybold and I'm an educator and supervisor here at ACAP in Sydney, and it's a great pleasure to be talking to a few people today that I'm sure you'll be finding very interesting to listen to. We'll be talking to the placement team, and with me here now is Paul McCann, who is the placement senior lecturer here in Sydney at ACAP, and we'll be talking today about what is supervision, what is clinical supervision, and we'll be expanding on the theme, just letting you know what it is that you can expect from supervision and how you prepare best for supervision and how to just get the best learning experience from going on placement and having supervision as a tool for your learning. So, I'm just going to cut my sheet of paper here. Paul, do you just want to say a few words about who you are and what your role is here at ACAP?
So I'm the placement senior lecturer. My job is to coordinate the supervision units across 4 degrees. So I work with a team of about 35 clinical supervisors, and we organise our students into small groups of no more than 6, generally 5 students, who will meet on a weekly or a fortnightly basis with their clinical supervisor to talk about how the placement is going, what their experiences are with clients, and make sure that it's a stimulating learning experience for them over the course of the term.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So tell us more about what is clinical supervision. Okay,
it's not counselling for a counsellor. It's an ability to have a professional debrief with a skilled, experienced mentor. So students have spent 2 or 3 years at ACAP. They've learnt the theories, they've done a lot of role plays together, they've done a lot of practice sessions. Now that they're out in a placement, they're working with real people, with real issues. It's not just role-playing someone who's going through a divorce. It's sitting with someone whose marriage is falling apart. It's sitting with someone who's in recovery from an alcohol or drug problem, who's relapsed. So it can be a really trying time for a novice counsellor. And a supervisor is someone who will give an objective oversight, and they'll ask gentle, probing questions about what did you feel when the client responded that way? Why did you use that line of questioning, whereas last week you said you would probably go in this other direction? So it's an objective lens that looks at what the students are doing and says, is this the best way to work with this client? And is this the best way for you to learn over this experience?
Interesting. And would you say then that the role of a supervisor is that of a mentor, a guide? What else? Like what would you say is the role of a supervisor?
We talk about having 3 hats for supervisors at ACAP. Primarily, they are the mentor. They'll say, this is how I would approach this situation, or have you thought about doing it that way? There's also an educative role where they'll teach by modelling what supervision is. So students learn the theories of supervision as they're doing it. And the supervisor is also responsible for grading the students. So on one hand, the supervisor is being nurturing and supportive, but on the other hand, they're also going to be asking challenging questions and making sure that when a student does graduate, they are operating at a skill level that's high enough for the work that they're doing, and that they're emotionally competent to be able to do this work.
So the task of the supervisor is to help the student to become competent in their work and confident as a therapist going out into the workforce.
Yeah, to make sure that they're operating on an ethical level, to make sure that they're aware of what triggers may come up, because it's a challenging area to work in, because you know you have a responsibility for supporting people through an emotionally difficult period. So the supervisor helps to create a framework where you can do that work without burning out, by recognising what your triggers are, by recognising what's good ethical practice and what's questionable.
And it strikes me as being very useful that the groups are so small, because a real good group dynamic can grow in the time that the students are together with each other, and they learn from each other too.
Sure, because you may be working in a shelter that specialises in domestic violence, whereas I might be working in an alcohol and other drugs organisation. So I hear and learn from seeing what you're doing on supervision, in placement rather, but also learning from how the supervisor interacts with you.
So there is many levels of learning.
Yeah, multiple mutual learning from each other.
And one of my experiences as a supervisor is that the students often find it really comforting to hear that other people also struggle with similar issues or have similar questions or have similar challenges in the transition from classroom to real world.
The workplace, and it's something that goes on throughout your career. Supervision is not something that's just the capstone of your study at ACAP. It's something that you are expected to be doing across your career. It helps you to remain as a self-aware, ethical practitioner for the entirety of your job.
And certainly as a therapist myself, I know how much I value supervision and how precious and essential it is to the longevity of my work and my own personal well-being. Let me see what other questions that I have.